So in this video, we're going to be installing this live edge countertop in our bathroom, and we're going to mount it floating off the wall. We're going to show you all the steps necessary for mounting it and preparing the countertop. Maddie, if you can take that out of the way for me. Thanks, buddy. I'm going to start sanding right now. What we're going to do, we're going to take our 3/4 inch rod. It comes with elbows that you can buy at the hardware store. This is standard stuff at any Home Depot, so you don't have to hunt around for it. And you can buy the elbow and the rod, and both ends of the rod are threaded, which means if you buy a 4-foot rod like this, you can cut it and have the extension coming out as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this up. I'm going to have Matt cut right there. I think I like that height there. So we basically wanted our countertop set to about 32 inches. We're going to use a vessel sink so we don't want to be too high, and that's right around here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to eyeball my mark, give myself a little bit of room, and here we go. Now Matt, what I want you to do is give me 3 of these pieces, cut at the same spot here, okay? But I need 3 pieces at 18 inches, okay? So 3 of this length and then 3 at 18 inches, okay? And there's 2 more rods right over there. You can cut those all for me. Now Matt's gonna be using that Evolution saw. It's our new tool. One blade cuts wood and metal. If you haven't seen it per function before, we have a video where we did a huge hardwood deck. Unbelievable. We did the whole deck out of hardwood for 3 days cutting on that blade, and then it was still able to cut through 1/4 inch tube steel. Blew my mind. We're still using that same blade today, and if you want to check that out, we'll put a link in the description of that video. It was awesome. I need the thread, yeah. That's very important. That's why I want to get all the marks on before you start cutting. All right, I'll take the tape and the marker. I'll mark these 2 up as well. There we go. Thumb up against the fence. Here, you're creating a pivot. Thank you.
It's the same thing.
No, it's not. Yes, Dad. So now that we have our pieces cut, we've assembled them, just thread into the corner like that. And you can start to realize real quick in a hurry how this is going to come together. Now, these elbows don't necessarily make the pipe square. The goal is to set this up where this is perfectly level and all at the same height. So in order to do that, you're going on a nice piece of straight lumber and a laser level. That way we can set the back and the front dead level and then mount it all accordingly. Now my laser level has a universal thread on it for all camera stands, which makes this awesome because I can adjust the height of this bad boy exactly where I want it. Okay, done. So I'm using my laser line to tell me where the level is for the top of the pipe, and that'll be where the thickness of the countertop starts. Okay, and so there you go, plus a vessel sink that makes that very comfortable. And now we're just going to take our piece of 2x6 stock here, and we're going to set this up on right at the line and put in a mounting screw right where we want it. Okay, there we go. So now I have a positive stop. So when I'm installing my rod, the back of the counter will all be level, right? And what we can do is we can manipulate the angle that we install this to get the front level. Okay. So now, I'm going to drop my laser level about 3/8 of an inch. There we go. And my goal will have all of these lines on the pipes in the same spot. Now, I got a laser line right down the middle of my pipe, and I know that that's going to be level. So I just keep changing my line here. Oh, that's gonna work out awesome. So these clips, they actually snap on. Exactly the dimension of the same pipe. And you put it right underneath the elbow, okay? And then the best way I can figure to do this is going to be get my pipe perfectly level first, and then when it's in a perfect position, take my marker and mark my points where I want my screws to go. Okay, so we're going to use our torpedo level here as well. When you're working with a counter, if you install your brackets with about a 1 or 2 degree angle up, that's fine, because there's a little bit of flex in here under the weight. And under when I pull on this, under the weight, it's going to be level. That is awesome. So we do this 3 times. We've got the same setup. And what I can do is I can actually pull out my 4-foot level, and after I get all these rods installed on 1 or 2 screws, I can put the level across the front of the steel as well. Just make any minor adjustments. Oh, this is awesome. Okay, let me have the other 2, buddy. Perfect every time. The funniest thing about this whole system is that when you go to the wood store to buy your wood, the big slab, because it's made of pine, it was only 160 bucks. Right, that's for a 20-inch deep by almost 7 feet. That's a great deal. And then right next to it, they're selling square steel tubing, which of course you'd have to paint and prime and put together. They sell the leg assembly for you. It's ridiculously expensive. It costs as much as the wood. This galvanized pipe, this 4-foot, it was $9, and the elbow was another $2. So for 35 bucks, I got all the hardware for this counter. And the only thing you need to do is be able to cut that steel down. Now you can use a grinder or a hacksaw if you had to. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. I'm spoiled rotten because I've got that new Evolution saw, but if you don't, the only reason they charge so much money for that steel leg is because people don't have any idea how to fashion a proper way to attach the wood. So having a system like this in place is great for counters. Liking it. Perfect. But if you wanted to just buy some square steel, you'd be surprised how cheap it is. And if you have the ability to cut it, you can save yourself a fortune. So just so you can visualize this, I'm going to have a live edge solid wood countertop, almost 7 feet across the room. We're going to mount a couple of undermount basket shelving. This is going to look really nice. It leaves a huge open concept. You get that illusion of space. You get that easy to keep clean, and it replaces the need for an entire vanity. Now, a live edge counter plus a top mount vessel sink and a faucet. I mean, the vanity for me is going to be less than $200. Try to find a vanity for $200. Good luck. This is the way to go. Sometimes when you go minimalist, you can save a fortune. We're done with this now, right? Okay, so now all we have to do is untwist these out of the threads, set them aside, install our drywall, and we're just going to measure from the edge here, make a mark with our pencil, so we can rotozip out a hole, and then after the drywall is installed and everything's finished, we can come back and slide these rods back in. We're ready to mount our countertop. We can use the same clips underneath to attach the countertop to the rod. Nice and simple. So that's the preparation phase. Now let's go take a look at all the steps that are necessary to get the countertop ready to go. So I got my laser level set up. This will be my center line, okay? And you can see it way out here, okay? So what you want to do is you want to take a look at your measurement. We're going with a 20-inch deep counter. What you want to do is just make a mark on your wall. So you're going to just make a pencil mark at 20 inch on the laser line. Got one on each side, okay? We're going to mark on the drywall, the back measurement and the front measurement off the center line, okay? So left to right, left side on the back, it's 35 3/4, okay? And on the right side on the back, it is going to be 32 3/4. Okay, now do the same thing here. And this is where the trick is. You come over here and you get your number here. So 35, and always go just a hair smaller. It's safer that way, 35 1/8. Okay, that's significantly different, isn't it? But check this out. There's no such thing as a square wall, right? So you can't, when you're cutting something that's already not square, doesn't have a straight edge, you got to go from a center line. So you're going to template the cut on this wall and then translate all this information onto your wood slab. Now, the front over here, do the same thing. There's a number there, 33 and we'll call it 1/8. Okay? Now, you take this information, so you take your slab, okay, and you're going to drop your center line on it, right? Mm-hmm. And then what we're going to do is, although the slab is shaped like this, we're going to cut from this corner something as square as we can here, and then we're going to take the center line and translate all these pieces of information onto it, and we'll cut both ends to fit the room. Make sense? All right? Beautiful. All right. It's all you.
All right.
We can always buy another one if you mess it up, but I'd rather not. So let's measure twice and we'll cut once. So basically what we're doing is we're taking this center line and we're measuring from this point to the wall. On the back side, which is what that stands for, on the left and the right, and on the front side, left, bam, and the right side. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our slab, throw a center line on it, and measure all 4 of those intersections so we can cut those lines, and then we can go straight across the back and clean it up. We're just going to drop that sucker right in there when we're done, and it'll be perfect. So we've got the counter on our bench. It's upside down because the skill saw cuts from the bottom clean. And I've set my straight edge on the back side that I'm going to cut that represents where the wall goes. The live edge is on an angle, so I'm going to take off about 1.5 inches. Now, this is not exact science. I don't need a track saw for this, and I'll tell you why. Because my wall is not straight. And I'm going to end up at the end of the day, once I get this cut to fit, when the room's all finished, I'm ready to install it, then I'm going to take this countertop in there, set it on my rods, and then I'm going to scribe the back wall so it fits perfectly. But that's after everything else is done. For now, what we want to do is create a straight line and start the fabrication process so that I can measure from my center line and duplicate my dimension of my room and cut the sides as well. There's no sense refinishing the entire slab. We only want to spend time sanding and finishing the part we're going to use. Here we go. All right. Now, what we want to do is take a measurement of the whole thing. We're about 78 inches. That makes the center line around 39. Okay. So now all I got to do is translate this number, my center line, sorry, so I can translate the numbers. Now we're relatively straight here now. So I get the opportunity. There we go. That represents my center line. This is where it gets tricky. One of the secrets about working upside down is knowing the difference between left and right now. So when this is installed, I'm flipping it over, okay? This is my left side, this is my right side. So my left side on the front is 35 1/8 from here, because that's the front. Because it's a little backwards. So I'm going to measure off 35 1/8 on the back, the front, sorry, and on the back side, it is 35 3/4. And we're just going to translate this information that we took off the other room. Then we can connect the dots, and that'll be our cut line. Here we go. And so before we go to refinish, we're going to take this in the other room, and we'll actually set it into the space just to make sure. 33 1/8. Yeah, these walls are really, really out. Okay, get an idea. That's square. Yep, I live in a parallelogram. One more time real quick, we'll just confirm this. That's my back, that's the front. This is still the left side, 35 1/8. Yes. This is the left front side, back side, 35 3/4. Got it. Now we'll cut the ends off. Now I'm going to cut at the line, but I'm going to cut on the line. Basically giving myself about a 1/16 of an inch extra material. It's easier for me to make sure it's all fit snug and good. If it's a little tight, it's easier to shave it off. It's hard to make the countertop grow. So we're going to leave ourselves a little bit of mercy. I'm going to take the guard off here. So I'll go low and you go high. We'll square it out. Now you can see the countertop's intentionally a little bit larger than it needs to be. There's two factors here that we have to take into effect. One, we haven't done any drywall mud work yet, so those corners are going to build out. Two, this part of the wall has a bit of a bow, and this wasn't cut enough. And you just draw it out. There's our new cut line. That'll make this perfect. And then I'm going to set Matt to work sanding this surface down and making it perfect, okay? Okay, so now we got our scribe cut done. Relatively speaking, it's the perfect size for the hole. Now, no matter what you do at this point, you're going to need to do some fine tuning with the cutting later. Proper scribing you should do after all your drywall mud is done, sanded, primed, painted. But in the meantime, we are going to go ahead and finish the countertop because this is a lot of labor. So we're just going to use a basic orbital sander and 80 grit sandpaper. Get rid of all of these factory dents and nicks and scratches. Okay, anything that's left over from the saw. And then after we're done with this, we'll whip over to 180 grit sandpaper, get a nice smooth finish, and then we'll put on the finish. And we'll show you that finish later. We're using a water-based flat finish, and we're going to fill up all of the bark as well. As do 3 coats on this. Oh, this is going to look amazing. I should mention, make sure you're wearing a good quality mask. I recommend these. You'll see them on our Amazon page. And collect all of your dust in a container like this. What you can do is at the end of this, we're going to mix this with some glue, and we'll actually make a paste we can use to fill all these holes before we switch over to the last sandpaper. And that way we'll have a nice finished filled countertop with no divots. It'll be a lot easier. So I've cut my drywall, the dimension of the space, and now what I have to do is I have to translate all this information. So the best way to do it is just to measure down, get nice and low. This is 9 1/4 by 9, okay? And so the top number will be the distance from the left, the bottom number will be the distance down from the edge of the drywall. And so they should all be about the same. Now we take all that information, translate it onto our sheet of drywall, and this is cute. My wife surprised me today. My last sheet of drywall, and she leaves me a love note. Isn't that cute? I told her, I said, you had to use black marker, now I've got to use special primer just to cover that up. Oh well. All right, down 9 1/4. There we go, and we just put a cross. 25 1/4. I'm also going to draw the relative size of the hole that I need. So this is a 3/4 inch hole, this is a 3/4 inch hole. And I'm cutting bigger than I need because I'm going to be using cover extensions to cover it all up. This is an 1.5 inch pipe, So 3/4 and like that. These are just 1/2-inch water lines. And now I'm gonna go get my rotozip and we're ripping all these holes out. Now you can always use a drywall saw to cut a hole like this. You just gotta force it in, jiggle that sucker around. It can be a real frustration. Or you can check out a list of my favorite tools. Grab one of these for a couple $100 and you can cut drywall like nobody's business. Be as creative as you want. Now all we gotta do is line this up. Okay, so drywall is a relatively dense material, but if you put a hammer to it, you're just gonna cause damage right at the point of impact. But if you use a piece of wood to distribute the impact, you get all that force into a larger area and you won't damage your drywall. So in this situation, I just need a little bit of love to put it down. And one more. Done. Same thing. You don't want to wreck your drywall. Okay. Then we can lift this into position. Maybe not. Now, there's a fine line between giving something a little love with a hammer and just trying to be way too aggressive. Like, I'm trying to lift this drywall up. I got to close 3/8 of an inch. I'm pressed tight in here. So if I don't cut some of this out, I'm guaranteed to destroy my wall. Okay. Now when I go there, I can step on it. Oh yeah. That is something that I'm going to be able to live with a lot easier. Take a little bit more here. Yeah, beautiful. Now, just so you know, we got that hung up in there. Here's your countertop. Now, go backwards until you feel it sit in the thread. And there's your countertop. Okay, there we go. Now this area around here, real easy to fill up. When we pull out the drywall mud, I'll just use a little bit of quick-set compound, pop maybe just a little bit of mesh. We'll clean it up naturally. There is no natural flange cover that goes over these that's attractive, so we're just gonna try to create a nice clean paint edge the best we can. Move this out of the way for now so we don't get an accident. Michelle loves Jeff. Yeah. What a corny brat, eh? Okay, so we're done our first level of sanding here, and you'll see there's some pitted areas where we've got knots and that sort of thing. Real quick, if I just take my sawdust and rub it in, right, you get an idea of what it'll look like when it's all finished. But that's just dust. There's nothing there to keep it there. And it just pits again. So here's what we do. We are going to take a little bit of wood glue, and we're going to take off the filter. There we go, that's plenty. And we're just gonna make a little paste. Now, the wood glue on its own, it has its own coloration. But if you use the same dust material and mix it in with your glue, and then use that as your patching compound, you'll have something that'll fill the hole and be relatively the same color. It'll look a lot nicer. Now, the reason I like to use the sawdust is it adds a little bit more of a filler to this material so that when the glue dries, it doesn't shrink quite so much. We've got another big hole back here to fill too, so. Now this is not a technique, it's not like working with epoxy, all right? The whole point of this is to fill the hole so that when we add our finish, we don't have to go 5, 6, 7 layers of finish to fill these holes, all right? We're just making sure that every aspect of this wood that isn't perfect is sandable, so we have a flat finish. And then 2 or 3 coats of finish will do the job. Yeah, that needs a little bit more too. There we go. Okay. And this is Woodworking 101. It's not the sexiest video on how to fill a hole, but it sure as heck works. We'll go back with the 80 grit sandpaper in about 20 minutes. We'll give it a quick once over, just to get all the glue residue off of the surface of the wood. And then we'll finish up one more time with the 220 grit sandpaper to finish it all off. And then we can start the finishing process. Okay, so here we are. We've actually done the second coat off camera. We're gonna bring you up to speed though. What we did is we just took our orbital sander, 220 paper, and we just did a quick pass over the entire first coat, and then we wiped it down with a rag and wet water just to get rid of all of the dirt. Because generally speaking, we were working in a dirty area. Now we cleaned up the area, and now we're ready for our third coat. It's nice and smooth. We don't wanna use the orbital sander again because we have a nice clean surface. But what we do wanna do is go heavy on this coat. The first coat, and usually most of the second, generally speaking, is just to seal the wood, especially with softwood lumber. So now we're gonna go really heavy on this product, and we're gonna start from the middle and drag to the outside, because outside is where the dirt is hiding. And so what we're gonna do is just go really heavy on this coat. Here we go. Now this is a water-based product. I've never used it before, but it's from the same place where we bought the wood and they recommended it. So I'll always take a recommendation from a store that is a specialty store and use their products. It's a great way to expand your knowledge base. It's also a great idea, since they're using that product on their wood on a regular basis, to have some kind of a expectation of a good result, right? Now just to give you an idea, when you go to hardware stores, you can buy live edge pine. It's available. I think they're selling it at designer furniture nowadays. Everybody's getting into this market. And at the hardware store, a piece of pine like this will cost you a few $100. But oddly enough, we went to a designer wood supplier for this product. It's called Wood Source here in Ottawa, if you're in the area, okay? This particular pine counter was $160, right? And it is milled there. It's stored on site in climate controlled conditions so that it doesn't get twisted and warped. This slab is in immaculate condition. It's over 20 inches wide. It's still perfect. And you don't have to be concerned about that. Now, if you go to a box store, I don't know. Generally speaking, you're not going to get the same kind of quality, and you're not going to get the same kind of customer service. That's for darn sure. And since it's half the price, it's a win-win. Here we go. Now this coat we're gonna go on nice and thick, right? And we're just gonna go over it a couple of times to make sure that we get rid of all of the extra drips, because generally this is not gonna soak in the same way. We're looking more for that sheet of glass. And the way we're gonna finish this coat when we're done is we're gonna come back with some 4-0 steel wool. Now, if you're not familiar with that rating, when you go to the hardware store in the paint department, you'll find steel wool available in little packages, usually about 8 or 10 bundles in a bag. And they're gonna have everything from 2-0 to 5-0. And in the furniture refinishing business, steel wool is very common because it can be spun so fine that it barely sands anything at all. And you can use it to sand the finish of a gloss like this on a floor or a piece of furniture. Oh, here we go. And what it does is it sands it so fine you can't even see the marks when you're done. And that's why you want to use it. Because you can take something like a 4 or 5-0 on a finish coat on something like this, and it'll just become smooth as glass. There's no such thing as applying a finish smooth as glass. You actually have to sand it to be smooth as glass. So if you want it perfect, get a nice healthy coat on here on the third coat, All right, run it down, make sure there's no drips when you're done. And then when it's done drying, grab yourself your steel wool and just buff it with the steel wool, and it will be perfect every time. Now, since this is going to be in a bathroom and we don't want the bark to get damaged, you ready for this? We are doing this 3 coats. We are absolutely dousing the bark, okay? We're going to make this as bulletproof as we can, just to make sure that we're not going to have accidental chippage. Chippage, is that even a word? I think I just made a word. Here we go, okay? And so here's the process. We're just gonna put way too much on here without any consideration for our own safety. Now you're gonna wanna get 2 or 3 coats on here as well. And then when you're, here, you just go dab it over here with some blue cloth, okay? Just pick up the extra. There we go. Now that's gonna soak in. If there's a little bit sitting on the edge there, it's not gonna hurt anybody. It will dry clear, all right? But you definitely wanna make sure that in this situation, unlike painting, more is better. All right, on the top of the counter, less is better because you get a better finish, but here, we're dealing with just trying to protect this bark. So more is better. Douse it really good, and then come back. Just catch all the drips. Okay, now this has already got 2 coats, and you can see it's got that nice shine, even though it's a flat finish, because it is absolutely saturated, okay? And that is the goal here. We want a counter that's not only smooth as glass and flat and shiny and waterproof, we want it to be really hard. We want the bark as hard as we can get it by soaking this stuff in there so it doesn't chip up when people are leaning up against it. Basically, I'm just gonna finish this off and then it'll be ready for install after we get the steel wool on that surface. Loving it. Okay, we are at that point in the project where we have our drywall on, our mudding is done, ceiling's first coat paint, the walls first coat paint, which we hate. It happens. Sometimes when you have a space and it doesn't have the finished lighting in it, you know, you make your best judgment call and this is what happens. Anyway, it's supposed to look a lot more steel blue, but in here it looks baby blue, so we're gonna be painting again. But that's not gonna slow us down. Remember we took all these pipes? We're just gonna thread them all back in now. We are finished. As soon as I can find the sweet spot. There it is. Okay. That was a whole lot of twisting for nothing. Okay. Should follow my own advice. Go backwards until you feel it sit. Okay. Now the reason this carries so much weight is because the threading, we're getting 5 or 6 threads deep on this thing, which carries an immense amount of weight. That's why this system is so awesome. Just resist the temptation to hold the back end of that. That'll probably slice your hand open. Okay. That's awesome. Okay, here we go. We're in the doorway, so now you lay, no, lay it flat. There you go. Nice and easy. Okay. Now get it right to the back wall. Right to the back wall.
I'm catching on the front side here.
This is the best part of drywall. Hooray, it doesn't fit. Gives us an opportunity to show you a little scribing technique. Now, this counter needs to go that way. I can see a screw popping already, which means we're putting the drywall on the wall under a lot of pressure. Over here, I'm really tight in the back. Right, I haven't even got my gap closed yet. So the front, when I push this back, is going to open even more, which means it's probably perfect, okay? These pencils, carpenter pencils, come with a wide side and a skinny side for this exact reason. Scribing your wood. See that? And you just hold it up against your surface and you can draw a line. Now when I do that, I'm taking an extra 1/8 off. I'm still way too tight. It won't be enough. So I'm going to go to the wide side and I'm going to scribe this way. That takes me almost to perfect to 0. All right? This is why we use these. If you need to go wider, you can even put your finger behind it and you can draw a straight line. Or you can take a piece of strapping and put it against the wall. or any other flat surface for that matter. Okay, and you can follow the contour of the wall like that. The more warpy the wall is, the smaller the thing you want to use to be building out. So if it's really warped, use a finger. If it's relatively straight, use whatever's handy. Here we go. Higher.
It's a good thing I'm repainting the walls.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you never finish painting a project like this until everything's installed.
Nope.
La 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 la. La 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 la. We can reduce the number of scratches in the wall, it'd be great. We don't have to beat the crap out of everything. All right, so we're gonna go back that far. We're not talking about a lot of meat. See that? That'll be fine. Amazing. What 1/8 of an inch. On the flat side, you end up, it's a 1/4 inch thick. The center of the lead's at 1/8. 1/2, the center of the lead's at 1 corner. Perfect. Almost everything in life can be fixed with those 2 dimensions with a little bit of acrylic latex caulking. All right, up we go.
You're rotating it about me.
Okay, lift it up, flatten it out. Get over your pipe. There you go. Okay. Up against the back wall first. Now watch this. This is how out of square the whole house is. Check your gap.
Good over here.
Good, and then we'll check it over here. Perfect. Now, this is our backsplash tile, and here's a cheap plug for myself. We're actually putting this one in as a herringbone backsplash. This is some awesome rich color. You're gonna wanna watch that video next. So the link will be in the description. Well, welcome to my world. I'm underneath the counter here now, and we're gonna use these awesome clips. These are actually for conduit pipe, but they're exactly the same diameter as the outside of the steel galvanized pipe. That is a great trick to know, because this is available in the plumbing department. This is available in the electrical department at the Home Depot. And watch this. Perfect fit. I mean, just amazing, especially when you're working upside down. And we're using an 1.25" screw. How thick is my wood? No problem. Okay, always good to double check. Make sure you're not gonna drill through the other side, because that would really be a bummer. Now, I'm gonna attach the clip at the front of this and the back of this, because there's an overhang. Because the counter is inconsistent, we cut short on purpose, and there's an overhang. So we want to attach the front and the back on the 2 outside pipes, and the one in the middle, it doesn't need to be attached. It's really irrelevant. It's just there to help support the weight. Now we're gonna go about 1 inch from the end, just so that we don't risk splitting the wood. And the drill functions really nice there too. When you're working on your back like this, set yourself up so it makes life simple. Here we go. Okay. Okay, I'll put my clips on. That's an attractive look, eh? We have yet to finish this countertop. We still have to put on the last coat. Got a couple of tips and tricks for getting a glass-like finish, so let's get to that right away. Here we go. So this has got 2 coats of finish on already. And what we want to do now, I mean, it's smooth, it's fine, it's pretty, it's sealed, all those good things, but it's not glass-like. Now this is steel wool. This is a 4-0 steel wool. What I mean by that, the package literally has a rating system. From 3 to coarse, or 4 zeros is fine. 4 zeros is furniture polishing grade. You can take this and put it on any piece of furniture and polish it up. And this is what you use on the countertop. This is what you use to polish any surface. Lacquer, varathane, oil-based, water-based, it doesn't matter. You use this to polish that surface. Just a quick rub like this, it's all it takes. I'm telling you right now, this is the difference between gorgeous and not gorgeous. Now, the other thing it does, it will leave little residues on there, okay? And you don't want to put another coat on there if you're going to have any steel residue, because steel will rust. And you don't want to get that trapped in your finished coat. So take your rags, wipe it, and throw it away. Okay? It's kind of like grouting. You just wipe it and throw it away. And if you follow that procedure, you're not going to have any steel fibers left on your countertop when you come back for your last coat. And again, just like every other coat, start on the edge, follow the grain, and just pull it to the middle. All right? This will be your third coat. This will make it absolutely gorgeous. And the crazy thing is when this coat is dry, you can get that same steel wool, come back and give it a light polish. And now that it's got 3 coats, and the reason we waited to do the third coat until it was in place is because we knew we were going to do some cutting, right? And we didn't want to have our final piece on here until after the cutting was all done. Here we go. Nice and liberal. Now we're going to just drag and stretch this out. Snow plowing towards us. Here we go. And if you'd like to see how this project finishes out, you can watch the video on how to install a stone vessel sink and the waterfall faucet that goes with it. That's going to be amazing. You too can have a perfect rustic bathroom. Follow this link.